Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this morning. We've got a pretty good session for you today. What we'd like to do is start out with just an introduction to Aviatrix. Many of you may not be familiar with Aviatrix. You're obviously familiar with CheckPoint. And so today I'll go through a little bit of an introduction, and then we'll go into the details of the integrations that we've done with CheckPoint, drilling into some of the business and technical challenges and looking at that total solution. Then we'll have a follow-up at the end, have some Q&A, and I think it'll be a good session altogether. So for many of you that might not be used to or know about Aviatrix, we've been around for about 6 years and really has started to explode in the last 2 years with a lot of enterprise customers moving to the cloud. And you can see that we have many customers in every different vertical, probably about 500 customers out there. These are some of the top customers that we have, but every different vertical, because cloud is really a horizontal technology and we're bringing cloud networking or advanced cloud networking together. So to talk about kind of where we are, enterprises are needing more than the basic networking. And many of you may have come from, data center networking world where at one point in time it was the Cisco architecture that drove everything, and then things got virtualized in the data center with server virtualization, then network virtualization. But in all those days, you still had access to that physical and virtual layer. As enterprises move into the cloud, they lose access and visibility and control to the virtual and physical layers down underneath the infrastructure as a service providers. And so what you have access to is the basic cloud networking constructs. And at that point, we had an architectural gap because you couldn't really do networking exactly the same way that you did in the data center. And now we've expanded those basic constructs across multiple clouds from AWS and Azure and Google and Oracle. And so where we fit is this enterprise class multi-cloud network architecture and services that fit on top of all of those clouds. So that is where we're going to be talking about a little bit today. Now, the CSPs don't deliver this enterprise class networking and security. They'll tell you that they do everything and anything you'll ever need in the cloud, but the reality is there's really a lack of visibility, no real-time data analytics, limited troubleshooting. You can't do things very easily like packet capture and ping and trace route that you're used to in the physical environments of your data center. There's really a lack of control for things like high availability, encryption, traffic engineering. What we find is that enterprise networks really need a multi-cloud network architecture that they can build all of this on and be able to leverage multi-cloud infrastructure as code to build repeatable designs across multiple clouds. And there's a lot of skills gap, a lot of complexity if you're trying to do this across multiple clouds. And so this is where we play. We build everything based on an architecture we call the multi-cloud network architecture. And essentially what this is the ability to have multiple layers in the cloud access, cloud applications, and the network layers that connect all that together, but also the security and the operations that go across all of those layers. And in the middle of that, the foundation of all this is the multi-cloud transit. It's where the application layers connect into, it's where the access layer connects into, and it's what traverses all of the clouds and becomes this common operational and data plane that you get to take advantage of. And we, of course, provide a cloud network platform that allows you to have the advanced networking, advanced security, advanced operational services, as well as do service insertion from our partners like CheckPoint and bringing next generation firewall capabilities and plugging those into this transit network. So the way this works, there's really a few components that you need to know and understand. This is not a SaaS or a managed service. This is software that you acquire and run on top of your cloud instances in the cloud. The main component is number one, the Aviatrix controller. think of this as the brain of the operations. It's talking to our gateways, number 2 here, that provide the advanced networking and security capabilities. But it's also talking to the cloud native APIs, as well as APIs to products like CheckPoint, CloudGuard that we're going to be talking about today. And this creates an abstraction layer. So we actually have a multi-cloud Terraform provider, meaning there's one API that you use across multiple clouds as opposed to a different Terraform provider in each one of the clouds. And then all of this feeds our visualization tool called Copilot, which gives you the ability to see and the network in a way that you've never been able to from any of the cloud providers. So for instance, building a dynamic topology map of the entire network and all of the components associated with it, being able to do deep flow IQ analysis, looking at exactly what's happening between all these conversations and being able to drill into those conversations to do troubleshooting and so forth. And then having this operational visibility of what's up, what's down, what's changing, what the trends look like, and so forth. So the way this gets built out, many of our customers start in a single cloud, and you can see to start with, you have this repeatable hub and spoke architecture that can be expanded into multiple regions or into multiple clouds. So it becomes the same whether you're running it in AWS or you're running it in Azure or Google. Then we can add capabilities like high performance encryption, being able to get full wire speed connection from your data center into the cloud and up to 75 gigs of IPsec encryption inside the cloud with some of our proprietary technology. Then we can do things like multi-cloud network segmentation. So we can create security domains that, for instance, green dots can talk to green dots and blue dots can talk to blue dots, but they can't talk to each other, and do that across multiple clouds. And today we'll be talking about the service insertion, bringing the CheckPoint CloudGuard into this architecture and being able to drive traffic through, automatically route the traffic that needs to be inspected to the right firewalls. Then, of course, I mentioned the visibility capability. So this transit is what actually provides all the data necessary to deliver all of that visibility that's not available from the cloud providers. And then, of course, once you have your transit, you want to be able to connect your sites, your remote offices, and your remote employees into this multi-cloud architecture. And so we provide capabilities there, as well as internet ingress and egress capabilities. And the final thing is to take advantage of native cloud capabilities. For instance, if you had the AWS Transit Gateway, we could plug that into it, and all the VPCs that are connected there would then connect into this multi-cloud backbone. So in the end, what we're doing is we're maintaining the simplicity and automation of cloud, but bringing the enterprise class visibility and control that everybody needs. So on the visibility side, we talked about Copilot and some other tools like FlightPath that we have for visualization. On the control side, it's really about the advanced networking, advanced security, and advanced automation capabilities that we bring in order to make this a real enterprise class network that's not just for a single cloud, but across multiple clouds. And with that, one more slide. What we do with customers is we help them design an entire design. This is actually a real customer design. You can see how the transit layer is in the middle there. So if you're interested in us helping you create an architecture like this, this is what we can do. And now with that, I want to turn it over to Shahzad for the next thing. So I'm going to stop sharing, Shahzad, and you can take over.
Awesome. Yeah, so let's talk about the joint solution that we have with CheckPoint. So what happens that when enterprises, they move into the cloud, they are faced with a lot of business challenges. Some of them, Rod already mentioned, are along the lines of networking and security. So when they move into the cloud, they find out that it's very flat out there. There's no architecture in place. And this is where Aviatrix has this MCN multi-cloud network architecture to help customer design and architect the cloud networking in the public cloud. And then the second big challenge is about security, right? So you need the security from all different angles. And when you look at the cloud is providing you the security, but those are basic constructs. And in many cases, those are just Lego pieces that you need to figure out how to put together and build a proper security posture and architecture in the cloud. So there are a lot of challenges that comes with it. You need to provide the compliance. You need to make sure your auditing is passing, and you need to make sure you're providing proper security visibility in the cloud. And this is exactly the challenge we are solving together as one. So Aviatrix providing the multi-cloud networking platform with proper control, visibility that an enterprise need. And then CheckPoint comes in with their enterprise class security and threat prevention, not only for the on-prem, but in the cloud world as well. So you should look at this as a one single solution, and with the Vandis on our side, you can rest assured you have the full team here providing you the single cohesive solution to solve those business challenges. Now we'll take a look at some technical challenges and or what they are. So if you focus here on the AWS, you will notice that if you try to deploy CloudGuard in AWS with the native constructs, the TGW here, you will notice that it's all manual. So you need to make changes in the VPC. You're changing the route table here, route table in the VGW, then you're sending the traffic towards the CloudGuard, and then you need to make changes here. So there's a lot of manual intervention required. And also this is not policy based. So this is all discrete point-to-point solution. Then another challenge is about the traffic steering. How would you steer the traffic towards these cloud guards? So what typically customers do, they create the IPsec tunnel in the process so that they can provide this active cloud guard in AWS. And in that process, they need to build IPsec. They're talking about BGP, configuring ECMP, the equal cost multipath. And in this process, they are actually kind of not getting the full out of this cloud guard. So you see a lot of performance limitations there, and those are basically the limitations that are inherent into the cloud. It's nothing to do with the CloudGuard, to be honest, because when you build the IPsec tunnel towards the CloudGuard, you're limited by 1.25 GB throughput. And if you take into account the return traffic, it's about 600 MP limit that you see on those CloudGuards. So that's number 3. Number 4 is about the visibility and the security, right? So when you create those tunnels, when you create those ECMPs, then you're talking about creating or configuring source NAT so that you can pin the traffic to a proper CloudGuard. Your day 2 becomes extremely difficult. And when it comes to scaling out this solution, again, you're talking about going back to the drawing board and then configuring and deploying those route tables and whatnot. And on top of that, you see this TGW does not provide you native encryption. So if you look at Azure deployment with CloudGuard, sort of a similar story, right? So now you're talking about, again, all the manual changes you need to make in those VNets. Then you're talking about the UDR that you need to configure to make sure your traffic is properly steered towards those CloudGuard for service insertion. There is a long failover and HA issues where you're limited by how and when you can actually deploy these CloudGuard in different AZs. Visibility and security, like I said before, same challenges with Azure as well. Now let's take a look at the solution that we have come up with. So in this architecture, I'm showing AWS here just as an example. But if you notice now in this security VPC here, we have deployed these Aviatrix gateways in there. And then with the help of this Aviatrix controller, which is the brain of the solution, now you can actually realize the complete automation and management of this entire solution out there. So with the help of Aviatrix controller and gateway, we can steer the traffic towards these CloudGuard with a policy-based approach without needing any source NAT or IPsec or BGP running. So you have complete visibility and you have the maximum throughput possible through these CloudGuards. And the beauty of this architecture is that now you can repeat the same architecture, right? So if you look at controller and gateway, it's the same architecture you're deploying here. You're not figuring out the cloud native problems or how it's going to be done in Azure versus AWS. It's the same repeatable architecture that you can use either in AWS or in Azure. And obviously, I'm showing you a very simplified picture here where this security VPC is taking care of all type of traffic, the east-west traffic, the egress traffic, ingress traffic, but obviously there are various design patterns available and possible. OK, so this is something very unique to CloudGuard. Yes, you can deploy these CloudGuards in active fashion with our solution, but we have also a solution with geo-clustering. So if that's your requirement, definitely take into look into this solution and talk to us, and we can provide you more details how to achieve this. Now, this is a very a holistic diagram of showing all the different components in the architecture. So on top, you can see Aviatrix controller, Copilot, and flight path. And then on the next, you see this Terraform, which is, I think, is a big deal because now customers are talking about making sure this is part of their CI/CD pipeline. They want to do infrastructure as a code, right? So this is where this single Terraform is actually taking care of all the deployment needs that you have, whether it's in single cloud or in multiple cloud, right? So this is extremely important. And then here you can see the CheckPoint, CloudGuard, and GeoCluster technologies are helping a lot of customers achieve or realize their security needs in the public cloud. So with this CloudGuard service insertion, what we have, we can take care of all the traffic needs. We can inspect the traffic, whether it's coming from VPC to VPC, whether it's north-south traffic, or coming from any outside world or towards internet, right? And with the knowledge and understanding that you will not be making any compromises, right? So we can go all the way up to 70 gig or 75 Gbps in terms of throughput that we can provide through this solution. One more thing which is extremely important is that the encryption is not a second thought. Encryption is built into the architecture. So when you build this architecture using Aviatrix, we make sure everything is encrypted. All those links that you see, these red lines going from this spoke VPC to this transit VPC, for example, they're all encrypted links. The solution is active, and not only active in the sense that CloudGuards are working together at the same time, but also we are taking care of the deployment aspects and making sure that these CloudGuards are deployed across AZs. So in case you have some problems with the AZ, we want to make sure that your workloads are being inspected. There is no IPsec, no BGP, no SNAT required. This is all using the native constructs and our cloud gateways and controller architecture. Another common request we see out there is that large enterprises, especially, they want to have flexibility in terms of designing the solution in the cloud. And a very common ask is to make sure that the east-west traffic is being inspected by a different set of firewalls versus the egress traffic, because oftentimes these teams are different. Their security policies and postures are different, so they want to keep it separate from each other. So we realize this need, and this is a solution that we have out of the box. So you don't need to do any guesswork here. When you deploy this CloudGuard with our solution, we can automatically deploy this using something called dual transit FireNet. So we'll deploy one transit VPC or security VPC for east-west, and the second one is for the egress traffic. And the beauty of the solution is that this is all intelligent. So we will intelligently steer the traffic based on the traffic. If it is the traffic that needs to go towards internet, we can automatically steer the traffic towards internet and then insert the CloudGuard into the flow. If it is east-west traffic, then we'll automatically make sure that yes, it is going through this east-west security VPC, and then it gets the proper treatment that it needs. So you can quickly achieve the compliance and your security needs with this dual transit FireNet. The insertion itself is all policy based. So it's a very simple workflow where you specify the workload that you want to protect through our controller, and we will automatically take care of all the programming of the routes, all the control plane, all the data plane aspects in the background, and we'll make sure that based on the policy that you select, we steer the traffic towards the right CloudGuard. Another important thing which we have seen, and again, this is coming directly from our customer, is that yes, I have this prod VPC. I want to inspect the traffic or all the instances here, but there are some management stations like some management machines or Aviatrix controller or something, which I need to be excluded from the inspection. So this is again very important feature where you can selectively exclude certain CIDRs and say, okay, everything in this prod VPC is inspected except these. And like I said, this is all automated, all controlled through the Aviatrix controller. It's a centralized CloudGuard deployment. You're not deploying these CloudGuards per VPC to VPC basis. This is like in a central place, which again is a very important aspect because now we are reducing the cost. We are talking about reducing cost as well, because I have seen cases where customers, they would deploy the firewall security gateways inside the VPC, and then obviously it complicates the design and it also increases the cost. We have complete integration with the CheckPoint APIs and native constructs. So all the UDR propagation, all the VPC route propagation in AWS, in Azure, in the VNet, even inside the CloudGuard is all done through automatically through our controller. So let's say if you have a branch here, if you're receiving some new routes from the branch and you want to propagate those routes into CloudGuard, we will automatically take care of it. The advanced monitoring and visibility is very important because yes, it is something that you need to make sure that you deploy it properly, but obviously you need to run it for a long time, right? So you need to have proper visibility, the tools that you need, the packet capture and then the trace route and the ping that Rod was mentioning before. So this is all provided through our architecture. So if you log into the controller, for example, you click on one of these gateways, you can take direct packet capture on these gateways, and then we'll show you the packet capture right on the screen. So you have an option to see it on the screen, or you can collect the PCAP file and then go more deeper into it. So this becomes very important for the operations team because the solution is role-based access control. So you can create various roles based on the teams, and you can say this operations team has access to these tools, but they cannot obviously deploy any firewall or make any changes. So that's also something extremely important to remember. The health check and monitoring of these firewalls or these CloudGuards becomes essential because let's say if you have some DDoS attack or something where your CloudGuards are not acting properly, so we can take them out from the flow automatically because we have the health check going on. So we will look at their health and we'll say, okay, this guy is not behaving properly. We'll take them out from the flow. And then when they come back online, we can add them into the hashing algorithm and we'll automatically make them part of the inspection process. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a small demo. This is my topology. So what you see here is the transit VPC or security VPC here with the CloudGuards. This is our gateway sitting in front of it, providing the load balancing and session stickiness and all the service insertion that I talked about. These are the spoke VNets where our gateways are in there. And what we're going to do, we're going to run this demo, which will show you that with single Terraform, how simple and easy it is to deploy this solution within minutes. Okay, so that's the demo. So we are going to see how this automation is done. So what I'm showing you here is this is end-to-end automation using our Terraform or API. So we're going to deploy this, all the VNets, all the gateways, all the connectivity. So this is my Terraform, and I'm in my GitHub. I had configured some Terraform scripts here. Take a look when you're watching this video. This is my code. You can see I'm using only 2 files, and when using those 2 files, I can push the code to my GitHub. And as soon as I push the code towards GitHub or commit the code to GitHub, GitHub will automatically talk to Terraform Cloud and will spin up the the infrastructure or the network I want. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it manually. So this is my workspace in Terraform, and I'm going to queue a plan now because I want to deploy CheckPoint in Azure. Like I said, this could be a manual process or it could be automated through your CI/CD pipeline. So now this deployment is in progress. So it's going to ask me to confirm and go ahead. OK, so now it's going through the automation process. So this is where my Terraform is running in the background. I need some confirmation here. So I'm going to say OK, confirm and apply. So looks good. All looks good. Good to go. And this is all integrated with my GitHub. So now you will see this plan is running in the background. I need to fast forward it a little bit so that you can see the end result. So it's going through all the VNet creation, the spoke creation, the gateway deployment. The CloudGuard itself is being deployed. Now this deployment is complete, it's finished, and you can see it took me about 35 minutes to deploy everything end to end. And to be honest, this is the time that things, because obviously there is an API throttling happening and the gateway spin up, it takes some time. So now I'm logged into my controller. So now you can see all these resources I deployed through CloudGuard or through Terraform. And all the gateways are there, the transit gateway, the spoke gateway. You can see they're being deployed, their sizes, their public IP, all the necessary information that you need as a security architect or security engineer. You can see the firewalls are there, inspection is enabled, you can disable it also. The egress is also enabled so that you can send traffic towards internet. You can see their instance ID, the state, and not only that, we have also configured the policy through the Terraform. So you can see these spokes are being inspected by the CloudGuard. And if you want to look at the firewall themselves, you can take a look at their instance name, their IDs. You can look at the vendor, the CloudGuard is there. We also provide you the management UI, so you can directly log into these CloudGuards if you need to. And this is the Copilot screen where you can see this topology being created automatically. So I did not do anything in the background to create this topology. This is all done automatically through the Copilot. And not only I'm deploying or showing you this topology, but I'm also giving you all the relevant information that you need as a security and network architect, so that you have all the resources, all the information on your fingertip. Because to be honest, if you want to get this information directly from the console, Azure console, you're talking about like clicking through like 5 or 6 different tabs and getting this information and then piecing all this information together to know exactly what is happening, what's my VPC status, what's the CIDR, what's the size of it. Those type of details are not readily available. So we, being part of the multi-cloud networking team here, we thought through all these things, right? Because I'm like you guys, I came from the networking and security background, so I know what I need to see. And this is exactly we are providing you, because a lot of time when you log into these cloud consoles, you see a view from a DevOps type of view. It's not really a networking and security view you see out there, right? So this is just one aspect. And then we have some other areas like Flow IQ, dashboard. I mean, it's a very extensive and comprehensive platform that you should look into. OK, so far we talked about Aviatrix Transit and Aviatrix FireNet solution, what we call the Transit FireNet. But what about a solution for customers who are looking to deploy it with AWS TGW only, right? Because there are some customers out there, they want to stick with the one single cloud for foreseeable future. So they're looking for this type of solution. So everything that I discussed before, right? All the automation, all the management, the control, the visibility, everything is also possible with AWS TGW. And this is the architecture that you see here on the screen. Okay, so now you have this transit FireNet or Aviatrix FireNet here with our Aviatrix gateways deployed in there with CloudGuards. So these are the gateways providing the session stickiness and the load balancing so that we can steer the traffic in active fashion towards these CloudGuards. And then you will have this attachment, the VPC attachment back to the AWS TGW. And we will also control and manage the routing and traffic steering happening inside the transit gateway, inside the VPC. So we'll take care of all the route propagation and everything that I talked about. So this is where this is only applicable for TGW, obviously, but if you're looking for a common deployment model, a repeatable deployment model, then this is the model for the customers out there. This is something applicable to both Azure and AWS, so you don't have to worry about a kind of disjointed architecture, like one architecture in AWS versus a different architecture in Azure. You should not be doing that, in my opinion, because then you're creating a lot of snowflakes and a lot of troubles for yourself. And like I said, this is geo-clustered enabled. So if you are looking for providing clustering for these CloudGuards, we have a validated solution both for TGW and for our native transit type solution. Okay, so what about next? So what we are here for, we are here to help you. Okay, so that's the main idea. Together with Aviatrix, CheckPoints, and Vandis, all we need to do, we need to help our customers. A lot of customers have deployed CheckPoint in on-prem. A lot of customers are new into the cloud. So we want to help all those customers. So this is the action item for you guys. So we have all the resources lined up. I'm the solution architect from Aviatrix side. I have CB with me. Rob is here, Tom is here, and we have various links and resources available. If you need any help, whether you are a new customer, existing CheckPoint customer, let us know and we are here to help you. Tom?
Sure. I think, we've gone through a lot. What I want to do is just kind of bring this to end and talk about a customer experience that we had. And really, I think what a lot of people look for when we're looking at this is looking for something that brings visibility to the cloud. A lot of times, as people get into this cloud journey, I notice that they lose the visibility and they lose the ability to kind of look through and see what they're doing. The reason why we're coming with you CheckPoint and Aviatrix as a solution set is because it gives people that visibility that they have regularly in their network. And as I said, what we're looking at is people saying, I don't know what my team is put in the cloud. The specific problems we have, especially come with network insecurity. Even yesterday, I was talking to a client whose main problem wasn't getting the packets from A to B, but understanding what could talk to what. We lack the visibility. How do I meet compliance standards if I don't know how things are talking? How do I go about enforcing policy and rules when there's that clear lack of visibility? How do I investigate what's been done in the cloud? It's a very simple question. And both these platforms, both CloudGuard, especially with their Dome 9, as well as the IaaS, and Aviatrix through the controller and through the visibility they have, give you the ability to look through and see this the way you would see your regular network. And it doesn't matter, and you can see, it doesn't matter whether the resources are in AWS, Azure, or GCP. At the end of the day, that's your share, even though you have that shared responsibility, they become part of your data center. And you want to see these things. Being able to go understand where everything is, what resources are going through, and understanding through the tagging, as we have security groups that have certain stateful plays, as I have NACLs, as I have different VPCs and VNets talking to each other, this is going to allow you to see those resources and apply RBAC as well as networking and security measures to that. Another thing why we use both CheckPoint and Aviatrix is both have adopted the SecDevOps model. Now, one of the biggest misnomers is, cloud, it's all this DevOps. But really, when we look at this, people in network and security have been doing DevOps for a while. They have been scripting, they have been doing rollouts. But how do we move faster? How do we move in the line of business as people bring in applications, as People use CI/CD to turn that through. How do we bring those same practices through? And what we're going to see is, how do we go about unpredictable workloads? How do we manage that? So this is a very simple AWS setup with that, and I think you've seen this over before. But the main thing I want to point out is in these workloads, we can adjust to multiple levels of work throughout it. We can go basically different levels of traffic, different workloads. As things go in through a CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery, as your workloads and your application teams are putting through, you can register and put that into a network stack that's adjustable to load. And you can give you that visibility and control that you need in order to keep your governance and compliance standards. And very simply, as we go through both Aviatrix CheckPoint, you can put them into that CI/CD pipeline and make sure that you can go out and do everything as infrastructure as a code. So that way your team's not manually trying to configure, you're not doing cutovers. What you're doing is going with the best practices of an agile environment. How do we help? So we offer at Vandis, we offer free cloud assessments. We'll come in, they're focused on security and discovery. That's the main thing we're trying to do, is come in and look at your security posture. Whether it be in AWS, Azure, or GCP, we run a scan partnered with CheckPoint, goes through and can put it against different compliance standards. Another thing we will do is we are a marketplace partner. So if you're looking to go and capture something and you want to go spin this up quickly, either CheckPoint or Aviatrix, we can go and give you a discount on marketplace rates for their products and allow you to use your guaranteed AWS spend. We're also an Azure networking MSP. What that means is we're been selected as experts within the Azure space of networking. We can go and put these products in, and we will be putting more and more products in where we can also offer managed services around that. If that's something that you're interested in, please talk to us and we'll have that conversation. Obviously, we're CheckPoint and Aviatrix partners. And finally, if you guys are looking for a POC within Azure, AWS, and GCP, talk to your account managers and we can take a look at how we can get some funding to put behind a POC to try these things out. I think, the main thing I would say is if you have something and you want to reach out and you're like, look, I just want to see, it's the great thing about the cloud. You can spin it up, you can touch it, you can fill it, and it can be back down within that day. We're not looking at it, there's no shipping, there's no install equipment. We can literally have a dev environment or a test environment set up for you, and then we can spin it down when you're not ready for it anymore. I think with that, if anyone's looking for additional support or help, all the people on this call, feel free to reach out. Our marketing team, Vandis's marketing team, will be sending out a follow-up with this, but we also can go and have a set aside, schedule 30 minutes if you want to look at something more in depth, or you want to, and if you want to talk about one of those POCs, please reach out to your account manager.
Thanks for attending.